What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another FPL video. My name is Mo, and today I'm going to be going through what our game week 1 final thoughts are. So in this video, we're going to be going through the questions, the key topics that we're asking just before the final deadline for game week 1. I'll be doing this on a weekly basis every week just before the deadline, where I'll be going through our key topics, areas of discussions, what our thought process is, who we're looking to bring in, who we're looking to avoid, and all the main facts and stats that we need to know before our game week deadline hits. But before we get into the video, all I want you guys to do is hit that subscribe button. It's absolutely free. Join the FPL INKLING family and hit the like button if you like the content and the notifications icon if you want to be notified as soon as I release my content. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic today. So one of the main key topics around FPL in game week 1 is how many Arsenal players do we actually need? I think what we can safely say is over 72% of managers, as of the time of this recording, managers have selected Jesus, so he's kind of like fixated in our drafts. Now, the main question lies between Saka or Martinelli. Are people going to double up on Arsenal attack? Some questions are in the community around, is it worth trebling up in terms of Martinelli, Saka and Jesus? But I think the main experts or the main FPL managers at the moment are kind of considering 2 attackers and then 1 former defender / goalkeeper. So either Ramsdale or Gabriel, Tomiyasu, and some managers are even thinking of Ben White at 4.5 mil. It's entirely your choice what you feel comfortable with. For me personally, I always wanted Saka in my draft, but it just adds far too much imbalance because I'm just not comfortable having 3 Arsenal attackers, because what's going to end up happening is, look, there are going to be games in the season where Arsenal will not play well, they probably won't score, and there are probably going to be weeks that if you do have a triple up on Arsenal attack, it may be disappointing. So is it more beneficial to kind of spread your odds across different teams? I certainly think so in terms of attack. So maybe someone from Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal, a nice little spread, even Spurs, will give you a bit more comfort of a cushion, knowing that, if one team doesn't fire for that specific week, you can look forward to another fixture to kind of maximise your returns. The fixtures, as you can see below, are looking, absolutely amazing for Arsenal. So maybe a Saka or a Martinelli double up with Jesus. And something like which I'm looking at all season is having Gabriel in defence, but you can either go Ramsdale as well because they're both the same price, whichever you seem will add value to your team. Because at the end of the day, what we need to make sure is we're going to win this game. Everyone wants to be number 1. So the main objective is to accumulate the most number of points. And the best way to do that is kind of spreading your odds and let's not pile up on too much attack from one singular team. Now, moving on now to a similar debate onto Liverpool. So the key debate is Diaz versus Robertson. Now, Robertson comes in at £1 million cheaper than Diaz. Diaz comes in at 8 million. The fixtures for Liverpool, I've discussed this all pre-season. The first 3 out of 4, I'd say, are pretty reasonable fixtures. They're playing 2 of the promoted sides that have come up to the Premier League from the Championship. And there's a lot of positives that we can see from Liverpool's attack. I think, from my perspective, I don't think it's worth investing in Alisson. I just think there's better odds and better returns from players that you play on the outfield. Now, personally, for me, I've looked at drafts where I've been able to place Robertson in, but the only thing at the expense I have to do for that is to get rid of Reece James, so which I don't really want to do because I do want something of Chelsea's defence. And Reece James is one of those that when he does go well, I do want to be part of that cake where I can take a slice of a really good performance. But because I've got Martinelli in my midfield, I kind of think that Diaz will be a better fit because I can't go for Saka in that case. Because I think Martinelli priced at 6 mil is the best in his bracket. So the alternative will be to have Diaz in midfield, and I'd just have to go without Robertson. I know there'll be a part in the season where I'll be thinking, I wish I had bring in Robertson, but that's the thing about this Premier League season. The prices are so awesome that we have to make these key decisions, and I just think Diaz, for now, in my team structure, I just think it's a better pick going into game week 1. People are, quite disappointed by the performance in the Community Shield, but you need to remember that he's playing against the best team, or one of the best teams, I should say, in the English Premier League. Not only in the English Premier League, but in the world as well. So there's big expectations. He started off well, and he's a Mane replacement. If Mane came in at 12 without penalties, then I think he will have the opportunity to score big points throughout the season in itself. I'm not too afraid about the Jota / rotation of minutes. Jurgen Klopp, once he picks an 11, he kind of sticks to it, and Jota may get some minutes around Firmino / Darwin Núñez up front. But that's the thing about the season. There's 5 subs, so pretty much the same rule applies to all £8 million midfielders. Is there is a risk of rotation no matter which team you select your midfielder from. Now, some people saying on with Liverpool is debating, is the third player best to be Nunez, that's how you pronounce it. He's had a fantastic Community Shield game against Man City, adds an aerial threat. Will he be selected for game week 1? That's the main question. We just don't know at the moment. It's a kind of decision between Firmino and Nunez. But I just think at the moment for 9 million, I just wouldn't think it's worth the risk. Going down to Jesus 1 million, save that amount, go with the template pick and use that funds elsewhere. Look, if he catches some form and he gets regular minutes, you've got a wild card at your dispense, and you can make those 2 transfers if needed to get to him. So that's why it might be worthwhile having that 0.5 mil in your kind of like budget, just to make those moves if needed in game week 2, even in game week 4, because you can actually see the first 3 game weeks, see how they set up, and then you can get Nunez in and make your adjustments to your team as it plays along. Personally, for me, I think the kind of 4 options that should be considered. Salah and Trent are nailed, and then it's out of Robertson and Diaz. Now, moving on to the next topic, which is another, an interesting topic for game week 1. Is it Haaland? Is it Kane? Now, the consensus or the thought that I have is of many managers in the FPL community, I want to go for Kane in game week 1, which is Southampton, and then bring in Haaland for game week 2. But then people say that, what's the point of having it for 1 transfer or 1 week? Save that transfer and take it, in terms of making decisions, keep it till game week 2 and then build up 2 transfers for game week 3. That's again a decision that a manager can take. There might not even be a chance that I might not even bring in Haaland, to be fair. But my kind of plan at the moment is to begin with Kane, bring in Haaland for game week 2, and let's see how he does in game week 1. But there are managers who just want to start with Haaland and just take it from there. But I just think it's just worth too much for me to sit behind the couch and watch Kane play Southampton, where I do believe that Man City against West Ham at the London Stadium is more of a difficult fixture. But after that, in game week 2 onwards, you guys can clearly see, they're playing 2 of the 3 promoted sides, and Newcastle and Crystal Palace around that. So Haaland might indeed be a really good pick. But we can look at Kane as well. They're not bad fixtures. So some people are saying a reversal thought might be to own Haaland for the first 2 games and then move over to Kane in game week 3 because they're playing Wolves and Nottingham Forest, or just keep Kane to all the way to game week 4 and then bring in Haaland in game week 5 with a wild card. Again, that's another kind of process of thought that we can think of, but for me, I just think starting with Kane will make me a lot more comfortable, and you can kind of see the experts trend moving towards Kane, and Haaland's ownership has fallen below 50%, where it started off around 63-64%, so it kind of shows that people are kind of thinking alternatively and planning differently for their game week 1 squads in itself. The next kind of big topic or looking at the moment is Leicester and their goalkeeping situation. So on Twitter, this is a huge topic. The 2 4.0 goalkeepers are now in contention to take a spot. Ward is the most likely, but Schmeichel expected to leave. Now, would I like to double up on Leicester goalkeepers with 4 million each and save that, 0.5 or maybe even 1.5 if you're going for a premium goalkeeper like myself, which I like to go for Edison, for example? I don't know where the value is, because do you really want to have a Leicester goalkeeper every single week, considering how bad their defence was last season? I just don't know at the moment. And Kasper Schmeichel is one of the best keepers in the league. We have to be honest, defensively they weren't that great, but he does make the amazing occasional saves and keeps Leicester in. And he was a huge part of their victory of the Premier League back in 2016. So again, it's a huge loss for Leicester. I'm not too keen on having 2 Leicester goalkeepers, but I am keen to have Ward as my backup keeper, and let's see if he gets any minutes, and if there are any games where I do want to play him, then why not? And it might become useful in bench boost weeks or any weeks where there's rotation in terms of even goalkeepers. So it's nice to have a playing goalkeeper, especially if it's at 4 million. It might be a first after a very, very long time. And a nice option to have, even if you go to like Sanchez or Meslier at 4.5, the rotation will work absolutely fine for you in that regards. Now, I've got the fixtures up on screen here. The reason why I have is the last topic we're going to be discussing is the Cucurella move from Brighton to Chelsea. It's pretty much been confirmed this afternoon, as per sources on the sports correspondence. So a good move, 50 plus million. Quite a big move, to be fair. I'm surprised Chelsea paid that much. Pretty much nailed on to play left back. Now, what does that mean for Chilwell? Does it affect Reece James? I don't think so, really. Reece James, based on the transfers so far, I think will probably play right wing back. So that's good news for FPL managers who are backing Reece James, like myself. And I think the fixtures, barring the Spurs game in game week 2, I think are pretty favourable. So Everton, Leeds, Leicester, Southampton, they're really good defences to target. And if you've got someone like Reece James at 6 mil, I think it's a really good price because he so easily could have been priced at 6.5 or 7 mil just because of his returns whenever he does feature, especially last season, looking at his background stats. So those are kind of like the main topics that I've discussed, what I'm thinking about. So those are kind of like the overall kind of thoughts, or I should say the game week thoughts that I'm taking into game week 1 deadline. The kind of like another question which I've looked at is the formation 5-3-2 versus 4-4-2. Now the template pick is 4-4-2, and 5-3-2 is something that I kind of looked at last season and it didn't really work out for me, and I'm tinkering at the moment. Do I go for the 2 enabler mids in terms of Neto and Gabriel and play the 4 defenders at the back, or do I take the 5 kind of like premium / mid-range Trippier, Cash, for example, Kyle Walker, Cucurella, 5 million defenders at the back and play 3 midfielders in the midfield? But there's more depth to my bench with obviously Nico Williams and Andreas. But it's a school for thought that I think over 70% of expert managers at the moment are looking at actually playing the 4-4-2 template, and around 15 to 20%. Probably even less are looking at around 5-3-2. So it's an interesting food of thought. I still am deciding on what formation to go through. It's just about whether I go template and safe, or do I go for the risk like last season and go for the 5-3-2. So that's worthwhile seeing. So those are the key thoughts for game week 1. We're almost there, guys. Just a few days away. So if you like the video and these are the topics that you're thinking about, let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if I've clarified anything for you, and let me know what your thoughts are on this video in terms of the kind of series that we're going to have going through this season. I'm going to attempt to do a video a day during the midweek so you guys can plan for your teams in itself. So game week 1 thoughts is part of it, and it's going to be the final video before the deadline stream goes out. So thank you so much for watching. If you guys haven't subscribed, why not? Hit that button, it's absolutely free. Hit the like button, like the video, and also don't forget to join the FPL INKLING League, which is below my screen. Have a lovely day, enjoy yourself, stay safe, and tune in for more content.